But then I thought, what are things that slow people can do that fast people cannot? We live in a fast-paced world. Then I found that I started writing about 50 things that slow people can do better. One main thing that I found to my advantage was that slow people have more time to think, more time to see clearly, and see with higher fidelity.
Hi, and welcome to Indian Explorers. In this podcast, we talk about Indian success stories. I am Sabrina, and together with my co host Amit, we will get to understand the journey of our guests and what drives them. Their optimism, patience, idealism, and courage, these are their attributes which we hope to bring to life in these conversations with them. So if you enjoy the show, please hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Good morning. I know we're very excited about our guest today.
Good
You
morning,
want to tell
Sabrina.
us a
How are
little
you?
bit about him?
Yeah, I didn't know who he was. Um, so a guy reached out to me on LinkedIn. The guy who reached out to me, his name is Pranav. I'm going to screw up his surname, and I apologize. Gatraju. Yeah, Pranav
Okay.
Gatraju. He's working on a SaaS product to help podcasters spread the word using Fanbase,
Okay.
and it's not ready. But he said, you know what? I've heard a couple of your episodes. I like them. I recommend this guest, which is what we want everybody to do: recommend guests.
Yes.
And he sent me a Clubhouse, that the chat, the audio chat
Mm-hmm.
call, and I heard it, and I swear, Sabrina, the nuggets I got in this Clubhouse chat reminded me of when I first heard the Shane Parrish interview of Naval
Uh-huh.
Ravikant.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired me to do a podcast. So, needless to say, I think we're going to learn a lot from Rajesh Setty today. And I think it's the first time I mentioned the guest name before you, Sabrina.
Tell me, before we introduce him and bring him on, what's one of your favorite nuggets that you
Yeah, I'll tell
enjoyed?
you. So his Clubhouse chat was done by a friend of his called Zane, and they
Okay.
called it the Insight. What was it called? Inside the
Mm-hmm.
mind of Rajesh Setty.
Okay.
After listening to it, I would change it to the power of giving.
Okay.
Basically, he's a giver. Do you know
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Grant, the author?
Mm,
Okay, so there's this American author called Andrew Grant who basically says there are
okay.
three types of people in the world. And
Okay.
this is relevant because I'm going to ask him about it. They're takers, matchers, and givers, right?
Okay.
This guy's a giver, right? Takers basically strive to get as much as possible from others, i.e., Indian women. Sorry, you can scrap that out later.
Wow.
Matchers aim to trade evenly. So like I do something good for somebody, but then I'll expect something in return, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say I was a taker when I was 20s and 30s, and I'm trying to move to the matching category now that I'm 40.
Gosh,
And
you're
then
still
maybe,
not even there?
no, I don't know, I'm not sure. And then maybe when I'm 50 and 60, I'll be a giver. But the givers basically are the rare people. They contribute without expecting anything in return, right? So I think this guy is a giver. I think I was a taker. I'm now a matcher.
Mm-hmm.
And where are you, Sabrina?
I think I'm between a giver and a matcher. I try to do things without expecting anything in return, but sometimes I'm like, oh, wow, I'm surprised that person didn't do this
Yeah,
after I did all this,
yeah.
right?
So
So
I
I
think,
still have that in me. So I think I'm in between.
okay, I think I'm in between a taker and a matcher. What? It's true.
I'm also thinking that you said Indian women, and I'm like, gosh, I hope most of our guests are men over women. I don't think we have that statistic.
Yeah, you know what I mean, Sabrina. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm married to an Indian woman, so
I
that's
know,
where
I
that came from.
know.
All
But
right.
you know what? I'm very excited about him. I feel like you're right. I think this guy, based on what I've read, is 100% a giver. And
Yeah.
very it's an anomaly in this world. So,
Yeah. And some of the stories I hope he's going to share with us. If he doesn't, I'll ask him directly. will basically just explain why I think he's a giver. Let's just bring
Great.
him on, Sabrina. Let's not
Let's
waste
get
time.
to it. Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome, Rajesh Setty. He loves to bring ideas to life. He's an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and alchemist. As an entrepreneur, the several startups he has co-founded in the technology and publishing space are valued at over 150 million, while the ones he serves as a mentor are valued at over 700 million. He has written and published 19 books. I hope I have that number correct. And he was only 13 years old when he published his first book. His books include murder mysteries, a collection of poems, a book on mathematics, several business books, and books on how to make people think. So, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you here. And I'd like to start right here. How does one become an author at the age of 13? I recently wrote a book and I'm 47. So that's magnificent.
Yeah. First of all, namaskaram to both of you and all the audience. I'm so glad to be here. So,
So happy to have you.
thank you so much for the warm welcome and the great introduction. Introduction was so good that we can stop the interview and then say it was good because of all the introduction, this was the most recent. That's how I see it.
Sabrina asked you the first question. She said basically she became an author at 47, and you wrote your first book when you were 13. Like, basically, she wants to know what the hell happened for you to become an author at the age of 13.
See, I never thought of writing a book, Sabrina, but I was very interested in reading. I read about 700 books by the time I was 10, and
Amazing.
uh, and it was all. If you ask my mom, she will tell you that all of them are useless books because it's all thrillers, mysteries, novels, adventures, everything. But then when I was about 500, 600 books, I used to think, maybe the author should have done that. The author should have done this. And I would tell my friends that maybe they should have changed this book this way. And my friends would say, why do you bother? Just to enjoy the reading. But being me, I said, if I write my own book, right, then I can make the characters do whatever I want them to do. So when I was about 9.5, I started writing my first book. It took me about 8 months to write a 200-page book. And then the madness started after that because I thought, hey, how many people will write books? Kids will write books when they are 10. I should be the only one. I should get a red carpet welcome from a publisher. Little did I know that there was no carpet or nothing. Basically, I was rejected 160 times until when I was 13.5, I got my first book published.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. So amazing.
Rajesh, I want to stick to books. Um, I heard your clubhouse chat that was hosted by your friend Zain,
Yes.
and I got a lot of nuggets from that incredible conversation. Can you share the story of what happened in Sapna House back in the day? How old you were and what exactly happened?
Yeah, it was a very touching moment for me because I don't come from a rich family. And when I was in my class 12, I got the second rank for the state, and I got into engineering college. And then I was thinking, how many rupees will it take to buy all the books? And then I was not even telling this. I was telling this to my professor, who is Professor G. Sitaram. And he was telling, I was so excited about it, but I'm also worried about the amount of money it will cost for the books and everything. They said, don't worry, give this letter to the Sapna Book House person. He's my friend. And then I thought he'll get some credit for the books. Or that's how I was thinking. There's a bookstore after all. And then I went and it was a sealed letter, so I still don't know what was written in the letter. So when I gave that letter to the owner of Sapna Book House, he said he read it and he had sort of tears in his eyes. And then he said, please wait here. They will bring the books. I thought they'll give me some free books. By that time, I knew something good is going to happen. Little did I know that there were workers with some cartons and cartons of books, about 165 or 175 books, whatever books that I needed for my 4 years of engineering, and more reference books, everything was given to me for free. That was the gift that my principal of my college gave it to me.
That's
And
beautiful.
that was so touching because I didn't have words to say. I never had to buy another book in my whole of engineering.
That's beautiful.
That's incredible.
That story I still remember, and I still what I did back was that I used to go back every weekend back to my college and then teach for free because that was my way of giving back. And I always thought that I was not entitled for it. I was not. There is no reason for a principal to do it. So that's when I realized that life-changing gifts deserve a lifetime of gratitude.
Sure.
What were you teaching? Was it engineering classes?
Mathematics,
Mathematics. Okay.
He was top in his state, or second in his state, or something like that.
yes.
Right. Rajesh,
Fantastic.
did you go to like an IIT and like give us your journey from India to America?
So I didn't go to IIT. In fact, I never thought that I will go to any engineering college because by the time I was 17, I got 6 books published. And then my mom came up with a piece of paper saying that she thought I'll become a writer because I was also a journalist in a local newspaper between 13 and 16. I wrote about 400 articles, about 60 of them got published, others were trashed probably. They never got published. And I used to be in all the literary festivals and everything. And then being an Indian mom, right? So being my son becoming a writer means mom would have failed. That's the feeling that she thought. She
She,
came with
she
the
wanted
piece of,
you. She wanted you to be a doctor or an engineer.
oh, exactly. She said 3 choices. In choice number one, engineer, choice number two, doctor, choice number three, loser. Which one do you want to be?
But were
I
you
said,
paid? Was the loser getting money for the books?
uh, very little compared to what I'm making now.
Okay.
But, but
So
at
your mom
least,
was right.
yes. So I think to win as a writer, it has to sell like 100,000 plus copies.
Yeah.
And then by that time, you would have lost your house and shirt and everything.
Sure. So what age did you leave India, and what was your next step to get to Silicon Valley where you are today? Walk us through the journey.
Oh, yeah. Basically, everything is sort of serendipity for me because I never planned anything. So um, I was I did my engineering at in Mysore College of Engineering, J. Chamarajendra College of Engineering. It was a it was a really good school because I met some of the closest friends there, and we still are friends after 31 years. There are 50 of us who are still close to each other. And then I was good in my studies, as I mentioned. I was good in writing. I thought I should be good as an entrepreneur. So three of us classmates, we started a company together.
On
I would
what?
say it was a training company, but it was I would say started a company is an understatement. It was a disaster would be a better description. Basically, we didn't know what we didn't know. It was like two blind people leading the third blind person.
I
It
started
was
a company with Sabrina's brother, and in the garage for 6 months with a business plan, raised some capital, and 2 years later it just exploded. So I hear you.
So we didn't know whether we are succeeding or failing because we had no clue. We are like three idiots in real life. Basically, the company was shut down, and then I joined a company called Citicorp Software, which is a part of Citibank. because I had to get some, because we already had loans to repay. And then first thing I did with the HR person there was, is there any job within the company that will pay me more? That was not a question that his name was Ravi Rego. Ravi was expecting because everybody will say, is there any better job or something? And he said, your last name is Shetty, but I didn't think that you will be so focused on money. But he understood what my problem was. And then he said, there is one company, one job in Mumbai. If you want to go there, the treasury bills were coming to India. And then Citibank wanted to implement T-bills. And it paid twice the money. I said, I'm taking it. And then I
From
went
Mysore
there,
to Bombay,
Bangalore to Bombay,
Bangalore to Bombay.
because,
How old were you?
yeah, I was
How old you?
22.
22. Okay.
And then I was doing well there. By that time, I got a clue that there is a company in Malaysia who wants to hire me. And then the person was looking for an entrepreneurial technologist. I was a failed entrepreneur, but it was okay. But he said, somebody who will take the risk is what I'm looking for. And he said, I'm interested in hiring you. And I was so excited. I asked him, how much money will you pay? Because that was the only thing that was going on in my head. I didn't mind what the job was because I knew that I'll learn and do it. And then he said, 4,000 ringgits. I almost fell off my chair, which was like 10 times more than what I was making. And then I came back to my parents and said, I'm going to Malaysia. And they said, we'll come back to you next week. I said, what is this next week? It's such a good job. My parents are very orthodox. And then he said they went to the priest or something and he said, if he gets out of the country without marrying, then he'll marry a white girl. And then that is a no-no. And they said, they came back with a proposal saying that we want you to get married and go. I said, I am only 23. He said, no, then you are not going. I said, okay, then I'll drop that thing. But my mom had a photo of a girl. And she said, who is this? What's this photo about? And they said, this is the girl we were thinking of you for a match. And I said, okay. And then she left the photo on the table and she went away. And I looked at the photo and I fell in love with the girl. And then I
Oh,
said, we are now married for 31 years.
congratulations.
And then I went to Malaysia. And
With
then
her.
I moved, yeah, with her. Otherwise, they won't let me go out of the country anyway. So basically, I went to Malaysia. I finished a 2 year stint and I went to Singapore. And then I was working for Standard Chartered Bank. And that's where one of my first friends from Citicorp Software, Sreenam, her husband Alok was one of the founding members of IBM India. He was traveling from Australia back to India, and on his way, he was supposed to come and stop by at our home, have lunch or dinner. And he said he knew me from before, Alok Ori. He's now the president of Dell India. And then he asked me, Rajesh, what are you doing, man, in Singapore? I told him I was so excited about working on some cool project in Standard Chartered Bank. He listened to me for 15 minutes and he said, but you are a creative person. You should go to Silicon Valley. I said, no, I'm not in a valley person and all. I like cities. He said, you are an idiot. It's not Silicon Valley is not really valley. It's just a place. I thought it was a joke. And I asked Kavita, what do you do? Alok is telling me we should go to Silicon Valley. She is a very adventurous woman. She
Yeah.
said, okay, we'll go. And if something does not work out, we can always come back to Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Can
that's
I
how I came.
interrupt you? Sorry,
Yes.
can I interrupt you, Rajesh? I mean, you've just given us the most brown story I've ever heard in these 40 episodes we've done. I mean, if a white person heard this podcast and heard that you were not allowed to take an opportunity where you made more money in another country unless you married somebody of their particular color, I mean, the white person would disown their parents and move.
Yeah.
Whereas a brown person, and I include myself, would actually, you know, get married and move. And that to me is such a, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's just such a brown story. Sabrina, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I agree. But like it's not it's traditional, right? It's
Yeah,
still
I got
stories we've
lucky.
heard.
I would say I got lucky because I was 23, she was 19. We both are pretty much friends for life. So
Yeah,
basically, I say that I married a goddess with mood swings.
yeah.
With
But
The
then,
mood
goddess part, she
swings.
brings mood swings, bring I part. Bring part I bring to the.
but Rajesh, this arranged marriage within Indians, which is a
Mm.
tradition that's still going on, I don't know the stats, but I'm sure the divorce rates are still lower than love marriages. I don't know the
See, my
stats.
thinking is I thought about it for a long time because in from India, people would not be surprised that this happened. But here, sometimes it's how do you marry a person without even spending time with for dating? And I said I got married when I looked at the photo, and then it's surprising because for me, I am thinking that nothing is guaranteed in life. Any relationship is not guaranteed. But when you spend, I mean, I'm not promoting arranged marriages here, but the reason that I got arranged marriage and why it worked is I'm not surprised about the way Kavita approaches life. It's not surprising to me because I'm not supposed to know it because I didn't spend 6, 9 months or years without. So everything is I view everything with a mood of wonder.
Yeah,
Because
I
two people who are not grown up with the same environment, how can they think the same thing? In fact, if both of us were thinking exactly the same thing, life would be very boring.
Yeah.
yeah, I think we've just promoted arranged marriage, Sabrina, indirectly. Yeah, Rajesh. Speaking of Kavita, your wife,
Mm.
who I've never met, I love the fact that you're able to do a stand-up comedy like you've done and you keep doing because a student challenged you that see if you could do it, and you actually have some hilarious jokes.
Hmm.
And my favorite one, if you don't mind sharing, is related to your wife asking you to go to the supermarket.
It's
Can
so
you
It
good.
really happened. See, the
can
thing
you
is,
share that story?
yeah, definitely. Basically, it's not a made up joke, but it is actually happened. She asked me to bring three things, and then I don't remember exactly, but it's let's take three things: beans, brinjal, and broccoli. And I went there and I forgot what they were, but I remembered that there's an alliteration that beans, brinjal, broccoli. I said if I go back empty-handed, she will be angry. So, so I found three things which are completely different, but they had alliteration: asparagus, asafoetida, and avocado or something. So, and she was not very happy. And I said, but at least you should appreciate the alliteration. She was still not happy. But what happened was she never sent me to a grocery store ever again.
Win-win, I would call it win-win.
Yes,
And Rajesh, when you were 44, you were diagnosed with Parkinson's.
yes.
And in the conversation you have, you actually talk about the gift of Parkinson's, as opposed to what I think everybody else who has Parkinson's would feel sorry for themselves. Can you walk us through what you meant by the gift of Parkinson's?
See, first thing about Parkinson's is that it slows you down like crazy. Everything is in slow motion. And it was, and I lost my ability to write. Basically, I could write, but even I could not read what I wrote. That was the problem. Everything. I had a condition called. I still have a condition called micrographia. That means whatever I write, it will become smaller and smaller and smaller. It will become a straight line. It's not even a straight line. It's a squiggly line because I cannot even write straight. So at some point, I was thinking that I can feel bad and say, this is what happened. I feel like a victim. But then I thought, what are things that slow people can do that fast people cannot? We live in a fast-paced world. Then I found that I started writing about 50 things that slow people can do better. One main thing that I found to my advantage was that slow people have more time to think, more time to see clearly, and see with higher fidelity. For a writer, it's a biggest boon. And I said, first of all, I am big into linguistics because I studied linguistic philosophy for 7.5 years.
Okay.
So basically, I said, if I can observe more and observe more with higher fidelity, then I have a competitive advantage as a writer. I can't write, but there are tools to write and voice and transcribe it. So I can't claim that as the weakness because I have tools to take care of it. I observed more and I become a better writer because of Parkinson. So I call Parkinson's as Parkinsons. Like it'll give creative sparks.
Sparkinsons.
And then what I did was I could not write the longhand. So I started writing what are called one line, two line things called napkinsides.
Mhm.
And my goal was to get to 100 napkin sites in 100 days, 100 in 100. Because by the time I finish a sentence, it would be so badly written that, handwriting was really, really bad. So I had to rewrite the same sentence multiple times. My son Sumuk was about 16 or something at that time. He would take a photo and post it on Facebook. And I was telling Sumuk, who will read this because it's like too bad. And I had not told the world that I have Parkinson's. So, and people know that I'm creative. They thought I'm doing some creative project. And one of my friend Chris from London, he said, you should call them napkinsides. They fit on a paper napkin. And I called it Napkinsides 1, Napkinsides 2. I started writing. I finished 100 in 65 days. So I had a new goal to write 250 Napkinsides in the 150 days. Now I have 3,900 of them.
And the website. I'm on
Yeah,
your
and a
website.
website.
I'm on your website, napkinsights.com.
Yes,
And all of them are very relatable. I'm just going to read out one, which hit me. Open your mouth when you shouldn't have, and you'll pay a price you shouldn't have to. That
exactly.
that has happened to me too many times to
Daily.
count.
Daily.
Yeah, every day, every day. That's a
So
beautiful story,
Weird.
this is a book that I have called Napkin Sites. The
right?
first collection of 250 are here.
Also, it's a website and a book.
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
coffee
well,
table book.
we'll put the link on the show notes as well.
Yes. So uh, I I think I would not have gone into this mode of creating napkin sites or anything that came with it without Parkinson's. People say, Amit and Sabrina, people say, what's your advice to a younger self? If there is one thing that I could change in your younger days, what would it be? I said nothing. Why? Because there is no point in going back to earlier and changing anything. And people say, what if you could not have changed Parkinson's? I said, no. Who knows? I changed Parkinson's and on the next day I go out of the street and then I get hit by a car and die. There is no guarantee that the whatever, if you change one, you change the entire trajectory of where you are. I am who I am because of Parkinson's. And I'm very proud of what I've been able to do and the
Yeah.
gift that Parkinson's brought me.
I love
Without
that.
that, I would not be who I am, and I would not be anything. I may not be anything.
You
See,
have such a positive outlook on life. have you always been this way, or did that change at a certain point in your life?
Yeah, I stay in only two modes. I'm either excited or very excited.
I like
That's how I think. See, I carry a card called "I am here, what next, or where next," depending on where it is. "I am here" is great, puts me in a mood of acceptance. I am here in this call, and however we got introduced to Pranav. Very grateful for him. So basically, I'm here and I have to accept it. And what next is puts me in a mood of wonder. That means
That
whatever questions you ask, I'm so excited because that may be you may be the first people to ask the question that will make me think and explore, and it's a gift you are giving by asking questions. I'm
yeah,
grateful for that.
I love your explanation on why you're so focused on the present.
yeah.
I think you mentioned Susan, what's her
Scott,
name? Susan Scott, and the book is Fierce Conversation. If you
I
can
love that book.
explain, yeah, if you can explain, if just explain it in your words, because I will definitely shatter it.
The Susan Scott book. What happened was when I started my first company in the United States, it was going okay, but I started in 2000, and by 2002, I had several mentors to help me there. One of them was Dr. Yakov Soloveitchik from Russia, but he has coached and mentored many CEOs. And one day he came to me and said, "You should read this book." And then I said, "Okay, I'll read it." And then it was called Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott. I didn't know who she was, but she is a dear mentor and she wrote the foreword for my new book called Unshaken now. But then I said, "When will you read it?" I said, "I'll read it in the next few weeks." He said, "No, you're reading it tomorrow." I said, Tomorrow? I'm busy." But I thought you are the CEO, you can cancel all the meetings. And he went and canceled all the meetings. I said, "This guy has gone mad." But I'm so glad that I read it. And I can summarize the entire book in 2 sentences. Shall I do it?
Please.
So it goes like this. Given that there is no guarantee that any single conversation can change the trajectory of your life, career, business, or a relationship, any single conversation can. What is the conversation that has your name on it? And it's so profound that any conversation that you are entering into has the potential to change the trajectory of your life, career, business, or relationship. Once you realize it and embed it in your DNA, you cannot have any conversation where you're not fully present. Because who knows, that might have been that conversation that could have changed the trajectory of your life, career, business, or relationship. So after that, I've never been not fully present ever. Basically, I've always been fully present. In fact, my Kavita and Sumuk is my son. They know that if I am talking on this call, they cannot they cannot ask me anything because I am fully there. I cannot do anything other than fully participating in the conversation. I would not know what is happening. There could be noises, but I am there 100%.
How do you deal with, because I love that. And I'm great. I'm grateful people have told me I'm a good listener, but I've dealt with people who do not reciprocate that. So how do you deal with someone, you are fully present in a conversation and they're not? How do you deal with that?
I mean, one thing I know is I cannot change anyone,
Mhm.
right? So first is I'll only work on my circle of influence, and then people self-select in and self-select out of my life because I'm fully present, and then it rubs off on the other person sooner than later.
Got it. Yeah.
And if they don't, then they will not enjoy the conversation because it's like a one-way street. It's not, it's like they have a megaphone or a microphone and then they want to be on the stage. I'll give them the stage. But then there won't be second, third, fourth meetings.
Yes, exactly.
Sure. Actually, Sabrina, I think you asked the question perfectly well, and I am guilty of that. Where I am many times listening to my wife, but then my mind has gone somewhere else, and I'm not always present. So I think that's a very important question, and I'm guilty of that. One thing that Rajesh talks about as well, that I've heard him talk about, is how when he meets people like us for the first time, he has an attitude of pre-liking. So he already likes us, even though he doesn't know us. Whereas normal people basically judge people in the first 3 minutes, 4 minutes of their conversation. So, Rajesh, can you explain to us how this pre liking concept came about?
See, one thing is I love people in the first place. And then if I have to be fully present to a conversation, it will be good to be in conversation with people that I like and trust, isn't it? So otherwise, it's hard for me to be fully present if if the mind is going and judging for people, then there is noise. So I said, if I pre-like people, then I'll see more of what I will like about them. So, and pre-like is a choice. A pre-liking and judgment cannot coexist, mutually exclusive. So, and then who am I to judge anyway? I'm just, I could last year to before the surgeries, I could not even stand properly. I could not even. My wife Kavita had to arrange me in the bed rather than arranging the bed. So if I am broke, if there anybody is broken, I am the most broken person. So I don't have any ability or responsibility or competence to judge people anyway. So why traverse in a territory where I am not competent? And everybody has a story, and their acts are justified by their own story. I'll never know the full story, so I am not allowed to judge anyway. So, but if I liking is a choice that I make, and if I like someone so much, they cannot take me to court and say you're liking me too much. Yeah, I need to be prosecuted. Nobody ever faults anyone for liking them so much.
Yeah.
In fact,
Unless you're a stalker.
yeah, correct. And I'm too busy to do that anyway. So basically, a slow stalker is not good.
Yeah.
Parkinson's. I said that there is a statement: slow and steady wins the race. First of all,
Yeah.
it's a flawed statement because I have a Napkinsides on it. Slow and steady wins the race. Only fast and steady decides not to participate in the race. But as a Parkinson's patient, if I wrote a book, it will be called Slow and Wobbly Will Win the Race. Because I walk like a drunkard many times.
Rajesh, you also mentioned that you read the Bhagavad Gita and that you learned a lot from this Bible for us. What was the taking from the Gita that you'd like to share with us?
There are 700 verses or so. I said, I cheated. Basically, I asked one of the teachers that if there was only one I could remember in Bhagavad Gita, what is it? He said, attach yourself to the effort, detach from the outcome. And I said, how else? And I was thinking, it's so obvious and commonsensical after you listen to it, because how else can I live in life if I attach to the outcome? First of all, an outcome is not fully dependent on us anyway. Because even all the accomplishments that I have made, if I say that I did it, then that's the start of a downhill journey. So even every day I write something. And how do I do it? Every day I do yoga, meditation, and I outsource a lot of stuff to my subconscious mind. Whatever comes there, I write it. And then I use a service called audiopen.ai because it's a transcriber and an editor both in one. And then whatever comes up, I edit it and then post it. But I doubt that it's my idea because I got it after my meditation. and which means that there is some universal stuff there going on. Something got downloaded, and that keeps me humble, and also that's the truth in my mind. That it's not my idea, it's somebody else planted it, and I'm just a transporter of that idea.
That's how we feel about this podcast, right, Sabrina? We are
Yeah.
doing the effort. We're not thinking too much about the low viewership. We're just focusing on the content.
See, there was one person that told me a story about starting stuff, right? Like you are building what is called as a backlist in the publishing world. Basically, there will be one or two episodes that will have a breakthrough outcome. There will be thousands of viewers, and then they'll say, "Well, who else have Amit and Sabrina interviewed? Let me go and check." If you have nothing, then they say, "Okay, then there's an assessment they make that they're very, very new people. This must have been a fluke." But if there is something, and then I enjoyed many episodes that you both interviewed because I felt so much of warmth and curiosity.
Mm.
So I not only pre-liked, I was biased, and then I almost pre-loved both of you.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel like we're genuine, right?
Yes,
We're being ourselves. We're genuinely curious, like you said.
correct.
Uh, help me out, Rajesh, here, related to the podcast, and thank you for your kind words. You mentioned that we have to be deserving rather than demanding. So I asked that because I I ask people to come on the pod, and let's say for every 10 people I ask, I get 2 people to respond and only one to say yes. It's a bit similar to my dating days back when I was younger. So, how does one become more, deserving rather than demanding? Is it just time? Give us your wisdom so we can keep our uptake and positivity.
See, the first thing is sometimes the work already speaks for itself. How you are making a request, it makes a big difference. If the request came from somebody that they trust and love already, then the chances of getting a yes is very high. Like, how did I come into the podcast? Pranav, which is our mutual friend, said, I know some two people that are really good in podcasting. They may not have the biggest audience yet, and the word keyword is yet, but they'll go somewhere. Will you be open to be on the podcast? And I said yes without even looking at who you both were because it came from a trusted source.
True.
So, not only the request you are making, but who is making the request and what is the relationship the recipient of the request has with the requester makes a big difference.
Yeah.
The
But
weight
but
is
Rajesh,
higher.
I bring that up because the same day you said yes, that same day I had a conversation with a woman who was introduced to me by a friend. See, Pranav is somebody I don't know. A friend of mine introduced me to this woman, and I had a call with her. And after the half an hour call, so she got to know me, she seemed interested. But only at the end of the call, when she realized that we only have 2,000 subscribers, she actually took it back and said, "Oh, I didn't realize you only had such a small audience. Can I wait 3 months to see if you get more of an audience?" Now, I was a bit taken back to that, saying, "Sure, I mean, it's your call at the end of the day. I can't force you to come on the pod." But then I didn't know how to respond. Like, I felt like saying, "Actually, if that's what you're waiting for, I don't really want you on the pod," you know? But again, I didn't say that, Sabrina. Don't worry.
No, I know, but it made me think of our introduction where you talk about givers, matchers, and takers.
Yeah, she's a taker.
That would fall under the category of taker.
Yeah, Rajesh, what do you think of Adam Grant's,
I love
philosophy?
that. I love that. I have talked to Professor Grant a couple of times, and I love his work. And then I love that. See, I am not against takers are few. I would say that she is not a taker, she is a matcher. She is
Okay.
willing to come on the pod.
Sure.
but she wants some equal
Sure.
No
reciprocation back
problem.
in terms of audience.
You're right. I
But
apologize.
makers are,
She's a matcher.
yes. So matchers are 80% according to Professor Grant, which is good news. It's not a bad news. So my thinking is that if you can make your offer even more compelling, because you are doing in only in the early days, maybe you will get two articles written through AI that they can reuse and then republish on their website with a link to the clips that you will provide. Like, what will somebody do with this episode? Let's say there were only 0 users. Let's assume that it's the worst possible case. You just started. This is the very first podcast, and I am being the guest. But the quality with which you are doing it so compelling that, let's say, they you may not have audience, but they have the audience. They can reuse this interview for their own audience. That's how I would pitch it as the early days. What all they can do with these clips.
I,
It's
I think
unbelievable.
I think this is the one, Rajesh. I think this is the one that's going to go viral.
See, my thinking is that at some point, no, we can't control how people will engage with us, but we can decide how else we can make them think about us. We can change the way they look at us. We can say that our production quality will be very high, and you will have assets that you can repurpose in your own thing, and we'll help you create and provide those clips. You want something for Instagram, we'll give you two or three of them. You want something for LinkedIn, we'll give you two or three of them. Our team will do all those things.
Mhm.
I see a mentorship role coming up here, Rajesh, for the podcast. Rajesh, sorry, we haven't spoken about your businesses. You're doing a podcast, a micro podcasting business.
Yes.
Did I hear correct that Deepak Chopra is a partner in that?
Yeah. So basically, it's a company called Advisor.
Okay.
It's basically podcast on steroids. My thinking is that when I started the company with my partner, Mike Martin, it was few years ago, and I said people are busy and they don't have time to consume content. So we'll get nuggets of wisdom in 3 minutes or less. Since then, I have found that there is a flaw in the thinking. The flaw is something that's very subtle. We have 3,000 micro podcasts, and people can consume if they people cannot use it more than 15 minutes. Their head will explode because each one is really good. It was people like Seth Godin, Tom Peters, Guy Kawasaki, Sunil Gavaskar. Those kinds of people are on the expert list. And if I tell people, even for you and Sabrina, both of you, if I say give us your best advice in 3 minutes or less, you will give me 3 to 10. Let's say I add it. Then what happens is when somebody is listening, they have to take action before they can listen to more advice, more advice, more advice. But action taking is not going to happen in 3 minutes or less. Sometimes it's like revisit your goals. Okay, I got it. And he gives an approach of how to revisit the goals in line with the Ikigai, the Japanese framework. But how do you do it? It's going to take 3 hours or 3 days or 3 months. So until that time, if I keep on giving them more and more powerful advice, they will get overwhelmed. So it's not something that people can use every single day. So we changed the model. We said there are micro podcasts in the front end, but there are full length audio programs in the back end that they can listen and learn. So, and we now created an instance of that advisor platform for Deepak Chopra called Chopra Book Club. And then Deepak Chopra has written 97 books. And then he has close friends like Oprah Winfrey and Martha Stewart and a bunch of really amazing doctors. So it will be
Sabrina's friends. All Sabrina's friends you just mentioned.
I love Oprah.
And Martha
very
Stewart.
good. Yes. So basically, it will be book summaries of Chopra's books as well as his friends' books, plus highlights from the books and then exclusive content. So that's the latest offering called Chopra Book Club. It's exactly as what Advisor has, but it has only content that is related to the audience that Chopra's audience will resonate
Okay, let's put that link as well in the show notes.
Yeah,
Sabrina?
with.
I just wrote that down. So,
Yeah.
it's funny, Rajesh. I really am such an Oprah fan that I was like, while you were saying that, I said, "Oh wow, he knows Deepak Chopra. Chopra knows Oprah." So I said, "Oh, I'm like 1, 2, 3 degrees of separation of Oprah now."
He has
I
a
know
matcher for
several
you.
people.
I don't know if Sabrina's a matcher or a taker. Watch out, huh? Rajesh, watch
that
out.
was that was a taker move.
That was a taker move.
No, it was
Three
not.
Okay,
degrees of
It
separation. No,
was.
it was just a thought. It wasn't a taking. It was a
it
thought.
was a
I
take
don't
here,
think. I
thought,
don't think you are a taker, matcher, or a giver. You are a dreamer.
A
dreamer.
dreamer. I agree. I agree with that.
Speaking of dreaming, uh, what dream do you have yet to complete, Rajesh?
The what I'm working on right now is a children's book called "I Want to Run a Half Marathon,"
I want to run a half marathon. Okay.
and
For
I was
children.
thinking for children, and then it's based on inspired by a book called Charlie McKinsey's "The Boy, the Fox, the Mole, and the Horse." It has sold 11 million copies. And then the way it's a fully illustrated book, probably about 90, 80, 90 pages, but every page has an independent insight, life advice. That if somebody opens a page and they don't read the before and after that page, they'll still get some amazing insight,
Hmm,
which is like napkinsights stitched together in a book.
that's
Nice.
great. And your age group would be
It's
what?
6 to 10 years old.
6 to 10.
It's a
Okay.
fully
That's wonderful.
illustrated book. My friend Radha Shalini, she is an amazing designer. You should
Okay.
have her on the podcast. I'll make an intro.
Matcher. We'll take it. Rajesh, we ask all our guests one question. The same question. It's the only question we ask everybody, which is what is your definition of success and whether that definition has evolved over the years?
See, first, it has evolved over the years because I'm much older now. In fact, if it has not evolved, then I must be an idiot. There is no way that everybody's success definition will evolve, or they are lying. Only two things. Right, when you are young, no, when you get a good grade or you win a match in a sports team, then that's success for you. But after you are a little bit older, then the meaning kind of success definition will come in. First is most people will have money definitions. Money will be the primary definition of success. When you have a reasonably good amount of money, then you say, I thought money will bring me that, bring me this. Everything is still the same. I still do the same thing. I can't have more than 3 meals. Where is the meaning? So my equation is heartprint is greater than footprint. That's how heartprint greater than footprint. So what do you mean by heartprint greater than footprint? See, I have a simple rule that if I contribute really, really well, then people will miss me in their past. That's how many people will I make them miss me in their past is my own definition of success. Because if I am really good even in this conversation, if I added enough value, one of you will think, I wish I met Rajesh a few years ago. If I have not added value, it's not your fault, it's my fault that I was not fully present or I didn't bring enough value. So I touch a number of people, how many people will miss me in their past? That's how I think about it.
I share that thought a lot. It reminds me, Charlie Munger, um, Warren Buffett's uh, partner.
Hmm. Yes.
Mhm.
Before he died, they asked him, what do you want written in the tombstone? And he said, I try to be useful.
Oh, yeah. What a beautiful. And it's so simple, and I love simplicity.
Yeah, you just
You
reminded me
can't.
of Charlie Munger.
Oh,
Not that you're dying
uh,
soon. It's just the quote that I try to be useful. It's such a giving. You know, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett are famous for being giving, for givers. Even though
oh,
they've taken a lot of money, they're very famous for being givers, and you remind me a lot of them.
see, I thought of a napkin site. Giving is good, forgiving is good too.
Giving is good. Forgiving is good too.
Yeah. Who inspires you, Rajesh? Like I just mentioned Charlie and Warren and Steve and Elon Musk and all these people. Who
I
is
was
your yeah
sorry, I was going to say I thought of the same question because you are so inspiring.
yeah? So
I can assume
exactly
to so many. So yes, who inspires you?
that
I
we know of.
think you would know of one person who is in Boston. His name is Desh Deshpande.
Okay.
He is the founder of $3 billion companies. But if you meet him, you would never know because he and Jayshree ji, his wife, are like epitome of how to live a good life, humble good life, but accomplished life. So I just get so inspired by them. And his co-brother is Mr. Narayan Murthy of Infosys. Sudha Murthy and Jayshree ji are sisters.
Yeah,
And
of
I
course.
met Mr. Murthy also a couple of times. And the way they live their life is what inspires me because the accomplishments have not gone to their head.
Hmm.
And they're still, if you meet them, you will never know that they're so
Yeah.
busy, they're always there for you. And that inspires me a lot.
And what about like a Ratan Tata or Mukesh Ambani? What are your thoughts on these giants?
See, Ratan Tata is a role model of how a business person should operate. And the amount of charity projects they do is unbelievable. It's like giving at a whole new level that I cannot even imagine. But Mukesh Ambani, I think I respect him for his business thing, but I don't see anything. I don't think they both are comparable. Well, nothing to take anything away from Mukesh Ambani. He's an amazing business person. But I'm more inspired by people who are making an impact
Yeah,
than my business accomplishments. So, but
I
What?
if
Yeah, I hear you. What did you think of his pre-wedding, of Radhika and Anand's wedding? I love asking that
uh,
question to Indians.
yeah.
see, basically, see, I don't watch news. I've not watched news for a long time. The last time I watched news was 1997, and last time I
Wow.
read a newspaper was 1997.
Well, there are a couple of wars
So
going on, so it's better stay away from the news.
yeah, because remember I was a journalist before, so I was creating news that was sensational. So
Yeah.
I won't be a victim of a crime that I was a perpetrator of.
Hmm.
So I don't know
Wow.
what happened to the wedding, pre-wedding. So I just so if I ask you what about it, I said I don't know. If
You
there
don't
was
even
a
worry about it. Don't
yes,
even.
Sorry, Sabrina, I interrupted you.
No, no, no. I was going
yes,
to ask because we're talking
yes.
about charity work. Is there a charity or a mission that is special to you?
Yeah, I've been
What?
a volunteer for a organization called Shankara Eye Foundation. They do free eye surgeries for the poor, and it costs only $30 to fund a surgery. They have performed eye surgeries for 2.5 million people
Wow. And that is in the US or in India?
in India, but they raise money in the
Fantastic.
US and then send it back to India.
Send us the link. We'll add it again to the show notes as well.
Yes.
Yeah, they're amazing people. The reason is that I think there is a lot of curable blindness because people don't realize that they can be cured of blindness with cataract and all those things.
Right.
In rural places, they educate people, and then it's amazing.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Rajesh, can we jump into our favorite rapid fire round where we'll ask a couple of questions and whatever comes in your mind, you just shoot?
Remember, I am a Parkinson, so rapid fire means it's a slow rapid fire. It has to be.
No
No problem.
problem.
We'll adjust the speed. Sabrina,
No,
do you want
it's
to
just an
start?
insurance policy for me to say that I'm not very fast.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
See, historical figure. I would say it will be, if I had to pick only one, it will be Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
Over
Because,
Gandhi.
yeah, the Nelson Mandela I picked only because anybody I would think of, if somebody has been put in prisons for decades, they'll come back with so much of negativity, anger and resentment, and the feeling wronged. But the person came up and he never showed any kind of that, not even an inkling of anger,
Resentment. Yeah.
resentment. That for me is unbelievable character.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Nice. What's the one thing that people don't know about you, or that would surprise people about you,
Not
other than
gotten
being a
angry.
stand-up comedian? Other than being a stand-up
Uh,
comedian.
Say I'm always the number of experiments I fail, I don't publish them. That I try so many things that I fail, 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 but I treat them as experiments. So if I know how many times I fail, the amount of respect they have for me may either decrease or go up, or they
Increase.
may think,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't publish them.
Wow.
And the
But you have a
number of
good.
things, number of people that I collaborate with and help me. Like I sent an article to Amit about a meeting with me kind of article. And by the time it's only 2,000 words, about 12 people have been brainstorming with 12 people at various levels. By the time I finish it, I would have collaborated with 25 people. So that also nobody knows that the amount of positive help I have is
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. In fact, if I can expand on it for 1 second, there
Mm-hmm.
is one competitive advantage that people can have is ability to get push button access to good help at the moment's notice, whenever you want, wherever you are, or whatever you need. They can push a button and say, I want good help here. And if help shows up, then it's an amazing competitive advantage. But how does someone set it up? I have a simple policy that to get the competitive advantage, you have to behave in a certain fashion. And the certain fashion is to learn the skill and have the ability to give meaningful gifts at scale at a very low incremental cost to you. And how do you do it? Meaningfulness is a assessment that the receiver of the gift makes, not the giver of the gift. Because I can give a trivial gift and say that, you know, I gave a meaningful gift. But the
Mm-hmm.
receiver of the gift should say it was meaningful. But any kind of non-subjective gifts, there is no assessment, there is no metric. Like if I meaningfully love someone, then there is no meter for love meter or respect meter. So the way they make an assessment is by the feeling that they evoke. And the feeling can be in a spectrum. It's like a scale of spectrum. There is at the lowest end, it has to be this made my day. Anything else is a bonus. And the highest end of the spectrum is, oh my God, I missed this person in the past. I wish I met this person a few years ago. If your help makes the other person evoke a feeling in between these two things, then it's a meaningful gift. And I have a whole process of how does someone get to that always giving meaningful gifts. Use the opportunity to serve rather than get served.
That's beautifully said, and that's all we hope with this podcast,
Yeah.
that the conversations that we have impact meaningfully. I see meaningful gift at scale with low incremental cost to them by just spending an hour listening to the conversation with our guests.
One
That's the
more
idea.
thing you both can do now is, because you have enough number of guests, and then you can proactively ask people, who are you looking for among all the guests? Is there anyone that I can introduce you to? that is
Mm.
mutually win-win for both of you.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
those kinds of
We
things.
do that.
I'm thinking there is a person called Adrian Slivotsky. He is an amazing author. He's probably in his 80s now. He wrote a phenomenal book called The Art of Profitability.
Hmm.
And there he talks about what is called, he gives an example. I'll share this quick example and then I'll tell you how it relates to your podcast or anything. So, Art of Profitability is about running profitable businesses, right? So, one beautiful story talks about a company called Cardinal Health. So, Cardinal Health is in the medical supplies business. And at some point, few years ago, they got their competition came from Chinese manufacturers who would say, we'll cut the price by 50% for the same medical supplies. And then, being an American company, they cannot compete with the Chinese efficiency in manufacturing and the the low cost of labor. They were like, "What do we do?" And then they hired somebody like Adrian Slivotsky, who said, "We have to think of the way how our businesses are using us." And long story short, they came up with a service where they completely eliminated the storing of the medical supplies in the hospital. And they said, they thought, okay, when will the medical supplies be needed? Let's take surgery, for example. Somebody needs a bunch of medical supplies during a surgery. Let's say knee surgery. There are 16 or 17 sutures and scissors and all of them, and every surgeon has preference on what kind of scissors, what kind of sutures, all of them are required and in what order. Imagine there was a service where based if the hospital people will say, okay, there's a knee surgery for Mr. Robertson on Thursday at 8 o'clock. And Thursday at 7:30 a.m. for the operation room number 3, there is a tray that comes with exact medical supplies, exact order in which the doctor is wants it in the supplies on the tray is arranged. And it happens day in and day out for every surgery, every day. Then the price for that service obfuscates the price of the medical supplies. Basically, nobody will care what the amount of what exact knife is charged in the supply, because they say this is so good, convenient, and doctors are happy and everybody is happy. It's called value chain extension. That's the phrase that is used. And how somebody will use this, uh, use the whatever service you are providing before, during, and after. Like, um, my thinking is the one way to extend the value chain of your podcast is what will the guest do after the podcast? And then what else is there going on in their life or in their work or in their relationships? That one new good connection can change the trajectory of their life, career, business, or relationship. Because you are bringing curated people. You said 8 out of 10 people will not come to the podcast, but 2 of the 10 come to the podcast is the way I look at it. 2 out of 10 people are coming to the podcast. 20% hit rate is amazing. That's how I look at it. But this 20% hit rate, people who came, they knew about your audiences. They're not ignorant about it, but they still wanted to, which means they have a heart quotient higher than the head quotient. Isn't they're already selected? They are good people. That means they will be open to new relationships, new connections. And then you can say, like, what, like for me, I would love an introduction to Varshaji,
Yeah, the
because
librarian.
Yes, I'll happily do that.
Yeah.
see that is all. See, my thinking is it's all God's gift, right? I didn't know about you all. Now I know about you. And then one of the first things that Amit sent was Varsha's episode, and I was blown away with the amount of knowledge she shared.
Yeah. She's brilliant. We love her. We love her.
No, wait, I don't know if I'm sure I said in the podcast, but that one, my daughter had to read that one for school. She's in
Yes.
fifth grade. And so, yeah, I was reading it with her, and I was explaining so many things about India because it takes place in India. And I just said, I love this. I feel like I'm really educating my daughter. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should just ask her, see what she says. And then she's wonderful too.
Yeah. And then see, for you both, right? It's you are doing it with such good heart. You should stop worrying about audience, because that's a burden you are carrying. That's a noise. That's not in your control. But then you can ask, if I had one person who can come and help this podcast grow, who would that be? That's a question you didn't ask, because I have enough people in my network. I would have anyway introduced you, but you should ask, hey, we are getting amazing content, amazing guests, and some people, they may not know some insights, people may not have heard, but we are not unlock the traffic pattern. That's an easy problem to have. The product is good. Your product is good. So I'll make some introductions to people who can grow the audience. If the
Got you.
product was not good, then nobody can help, right? Anything
Right.
multiplied by zero is zero only, right?
I'm
Thank you,
hanging up. I'm
Rajesh.
hanging up. I'm taking a plane. I'm going to California. I'm going to knock on Rajesh's door. Thank you, Rajesh. Okay,
Thank you for the advice also. That's
I
great
think,
advice you've given us.
and thank you for breaking the record on the longest reply to a rapid fire question in the history of podcasts.
See, this
Okay,
Parkinson's edge. I have this Parkinson's edge.
yeah. So, if you had a superpower other than being a giver, what would it be? What would your superpower be?
If I have a I see I am like a merchant of possibilities. Basically, I cannot stop, and I have a short circuit between my brain and my mouth. I know that it's a podcast, it's being recorded. I am like an idiot. I will start telling things that you both should be thinking differently. I cannot stop it.
We
I
love
see
it.
I
possibilities
love
everywhere.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sabrina, your turn.
Okay. Your favorite hobby, what is it?
My favorite hobby is to have. I have several things going on. Is Go game? Have you heard of the Go game?
The
No.
Chinese.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's something that you both should definitely look at. It's the
it's
closest
above
thing to life. So it's
better than chess.
yeah, far better than chess. This is the Unshaken book,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it is the Go board there in the
Oh,
background.
Okay.
So
okay.
basically,
I'll look
the
into
reason
that.
I am saying this is that I have a teacher. His name is Cornel Burso. He's from Romania. But I'm not. I'm halfway there in terms of mastery. I'm 55 more years and I'll be a really good player. I started playing 3 or 4 years ago. And then by the time I make my third move on the board, my teacher will tell me how badly I will lose. Will I lose
Wow.
really badly or moderately badly or okay, I lose? The third stone. And that's the way life is. That you don't have to wait for a long time to know what a person will look like. By the first few moves, you can see whether it's going to be a great relationship, good relationship, okay relationship. I wrote an article called "What is your immigration status in the heart of your the country of their heart?" Like if everybody's heart is like a country, every person they bring in with an immigration status. Is it a tourist visa, business visa, is it a resident visa, or a permanent residence or citizenship? Like if I can think about what if you both of your hearts are countries, it is my responsibility to behave in such a fashion that my immigration status is not just a tourist visa.
It's interesting. It's thought provoking.
This speaking of this statuses and traveling and tourist visa, uh, your goddaughter is actually our next guest.
That's so good
What?
to hear this. I am so
Yeah.
excited.
Can you just give her, just tell us about her, her name, and what exactly she does, so that we can obviously we'll do our research before speaking to her. But the fact that she's your goddaughter and we came across her completely separate from you, it's just mind blowing how small we all, how connected we all are.
Her name is Soundarya Balasubramani. I met her on July 7th, 2.5 years ago. So we have had, it's been 1,000 days since, about over 1,000, probably 1,100 days since I met her. We have had 1,100 conversations. We talk every single day.
Wow.
And then when I met her, she was thinking that she will leave Salesforce where she was working. And then I said, I'll help you in whatever way I can. And she wrote a book called Unshackled. Her second book. First book is called Admitted. And the second book is called Unshackled. And she built a business. Now she's about to merge this business with another company. And then she will write her next book. So she is a rebel and a amazingly good writer. So the article
That's a
that
good
I
teaser.
sent,
That's
Yes.
a good teaser for the next episode. We'll just copy that from you. Thank you.
yes.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Rajesh. Sorry.
So the article that I sent you also has been edited by her.
Okay,
So
great.
Mm.
I wrote
Yeah,
19 books. I have written 2,000 blog posts, but I love good writing. So we use the same editor. Her name is Anaya Kalkasas in Sydney. So she is very special to us.
great. Sabrina, I have more questions, but do you want to go ahead?
On the rapid fire?
Sure, I have more.
Oh, go for it.
But I want mine to be the last one, so I don't know if you have another one.
I don't have any more on my list. So
Yeah,
go for
I
it.
want I want mine to be. We spoke about Charlie Munger and his tombstone. What he said. You know, not that we have tombstones because we obviously burn the bodies and we believe in other things. What would what would the legacy be, Rajesh? What would you like to be remembered for
Mm.
in 10 words or less?
Rajesh was a work in progress. He guaranteed his work and he left the progress to God.
I like that.
Very nice.
Rajesh, I am going to come down and meet you. Whether you help me on the podcast or not, I will love to have lunch with you and get to know you better. And I'm in America next month. And I'm not going to see Sabrina. I'm coming to see you. So I
I
look
don't
forward
blame
to it.
you.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
look
blame
forward to
you.
it. And thank you so much for your words of wisdom, for your time, and for your, I would say friendship. So I feel that way. I pre love you. So thank you so
Oh,
much.
that's amazing. You used some of the favorite phrases. It made my day. Thank you so much. You both are amazing. And then I'm sure that the traffic is the least of your problem. Same conversation if you have next year, you will say something else. You say, we have so much traffic, the servers are bursting through the seams. We have to reduce the cost. How do we do it?
We both have small children. I have 3 kids under 10. Sabrina has an 11-year-old. So every time we talk, we're always complaining about the kids or something about the kids, or that's our stress. Not really the podcast. The podcast is our stress reliever. We enjoy this.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
We're not
excellent.
worried about the traffic. We want to spread the word because we
Yes.
think we want the whole world to hear your stories and what Rajesh Setty has brought to us. We feel privileged for having this knowledge, and we think it's our duty to share that as fast and as soon as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like our guests are so inspiring. You talked about meaningful gifts, and I feel like you being on this show today was a gift to us. To share
Oh,
your knowledge and your expertise. I truly mean it. This is actually a gift. I feel so inspired today.
I did tell you,
thank
Sabrina,
you.
in the intro, today is going to
You
be
did.
special.
Yes, you
I
did.
had a feeling. Yeah.
Oh, you made my day here. Namaskaram. Thank you so much. And then
Thank
I'll make
Thank
a
you.
few introductions.
Thank you. Thank you.
you.
Sabrina,
Thank
do you want to say goodbye?
Yes, I want to leave everyone with Rajesh. I read a quote that, on a website when I was reading about you. You say, I just live every single day as if today's the last day and have fun with it. This This has been another episode of Indian Explorers, and truly meaningful one. So thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it as well, and I hope you share this with other
See you next
people.
week.